Imagine that everything you believe to be real, every solid wall, every fleeting emotion, every thought that seems yours, might actually be part of a grand illusion, an intricate design meant not to reveal the truth, but to conceal it. What if humanity for thousands of years has lived within a veil so convincing that only a few ancient masters ever managed to pierce it? What if Thoth, the ancient Atlantean sage and keeper of divine wisdom, tried to warn us about this illusion, this false reality, long before science and philosophy began to even grasp its meaning? In this video, we are going to uncover what Thoth truly meant when he said that mankind is trapped within a false reality, and how understanding this truth could change the way you see existence itself. Because what you are about to hear is not just another myth or allegory, it is a revelation of the ancient mechanics that govern consciousness, perception, and the soul's imprisonment within the dense fabric of illusion. Stay until the very end, because the final revelation, the one Thoth reserved only for the awakened, is the most powerful of all. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to this channel, leave a like and share this video with those who, like you, seek the hidden wisdom behind the veil of the ordinary world. Comment below what reality means to you, and as you listen, prepare to question everything you've ever believed about life, time, and the nature of your own mind, because by the end of this journey, you may never look at reality the same way again. Thoth, known to the Egyptians as the god of wisdom, writing and magic, and to the Greeks as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, was not a mere mythological figure. He was the voice of an ancient order that guarded the mysteries of creation itself. In his writings, particularly the Emerald Tablets, he describes a truth so profound and unsettling that it shakes the foundations of what we call existence. He tells us that humanity is bound within the illusion of the material world, a projection shaped by thought, emotion, and energy, a dream so vivid that most never awaken from it. According to Thoth, the human soul descends into matter, losing its memory of divine origin. This descent creates a fracture, a separation between the eternal self and the temporary identity that walks the earth. The result is a life lived inside a labyrinth of mirrors, where every reflection feels real but none reveal the truth. Thoth described this as the shadow world, where man chases shadows believing they are light. He said that the senses, though useful, deceive the mind, and the mind, clouded by illusion, builds its own prison. Think about it. We perceive reality through our senses, yet those senses only interpret frequencies, vibrations, and light. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, all of them are interpretations, not absolute truths. Modern quantum physics, thousands of years after Thoth, has begun to confirm what he already knew, that the universe is not solid, but vibrational. That matter is energy condensed by consciousness, and consciousness itself is the ultimate fabric of reality. Thoth warned that when consciousness forgets its own creative power, it becomes a slave to its own creation. This is the essence of the false reality. Humanity is not trapped by external forces, but by its own collective dream. Every fear, every belief, every illusion of separation feeds the matrix of illusion that surrounds us. Thoth wrote that man creates the fetters that bind him, meaning that every limiting thought strengthens the cage. Yet he also revealed the key to liberation, knowledge of self. For Thoth, to know thyself was not a moral lesson, it was a cosmic technology. He said that by turning inward, the soul could remember its divine nature and begin to manipulate the illusion from within. Through awakening, meditation, and alignment with higher laws, the Hermetic principles, man could dissolve the veil and see beyond the mirage of the physical world. Ask yourself, when you dream at night, the dream feels real until you awaken. What if your waking life is another layer of the same dream, a vast shared illusion created by the collective mind of humanity? What if everything you see, even your body, is a projection, a manifestation of thought, shaped by vibration? If that's true, then Thoth's words are not metaphorical but literal. We are souls dreaming of being human, caught in a self-created labyrinth of light and shadow. In his teachings, Thoth described the earth as a realm of learning, a school for the soul. He said that this illusionary plane was designed to refine consciousness through experience, contrast, and choice. Pain, loss, and confusion are not punishments, but instruments of awakening. The false reality, then, is both a prison and a path, a paradox. It traps the unaware and tests the awakened, and only those who dare to question it, to see beyond appearances, can escape its grasp. So as we journey deeper into the words of Thoth, keep this in mind. The illusion is not out there. It is in here, within the mind that perceives. To break free is not to destroy the world, but to see through it. In the next part, we will explore how Thoth described the architecture of this illusion, the energetic layers that form the prison of consciousness, and how ancient initiates learned to transcend it, step by step, until they reached what he called the light of all lights. Thoth taught that the illusion surrounding humanity was not merely physical, it was multidimensional. He described it as a grand energetic web woven by the forces of thought, emotion, and vibration. Every being, every object, every event was part of this lattice, a field of frequencies sustained by consciousness itself. He called this the veil of forms, a living construct that bends and shapes energy into matter. Yet behind every form lies the formless, the eternal essence that is neither born nor dies. He explained that the soul, descending from the higher planes, enters this dense vibrational field to experience creation in its most condensed form. But as it does, it forgets its source. It becomes identified with the illusion, mistaking the body for the self and the sensory world for reality. The Atlantean temples where Thoth once taught were not places of worship, but laboratories of consciousness, schools where initiates learn to awaken from this dream and remember their true identity as beings of light. In these mystery schools, Thoth revealed the structure of the universe as a series of nested realities, layers of vibration, each more subtle and radiant than the last. He said that what we call reality is only the densest of these layers, the shadow cast by higher dimensions. Humanity, unaware of these planes, remains bound to the lowest frequency through ignorance and attachment. But by refining thought, purifying emotion, and expanding awareness, the initiate could ascend through the layers of the illusion, moving ever closer to the source. Consider how this teaching mirrors discoveries in modern science. Quantum physicists now tell us that observation shapes matter, that particles behave differently when they are watched. Consciousness, it seems, is not inside the universe. It is the force that gives rise to it. Thoth knew this long before the first atom was named. He said that all form is born of the word, meaning that vibration, the sacred sound, is the architect of matter, and he warned that those who forget this truth fall asleep within their own creations. Think about how this applies to our daily lives. How many of our choices are guided by fear, desire, or belief, invisible forces that mold our perception of the world? Thoth would say that every thought projects energy into the field of illusion, and this energy returns to us in the form of our experience. Thus, the false reality is self-sustaining. As long as humanity continues to think in limitation, it continues to live within limitation. The outer world mirrors the inner one. He taught that the first step toward freedom is awareness, the awakening of the inner eye. When a seeker begins to observe their thoughts rather than be ruled by them, a subtle separation forms between the soul and the illusion. This separation is not detachment from life, but clarity within it. Thoth called this the opening of the eye of light. It is the moment when the observer remembers that he is not the shadow, but the light casting it. Thoth often described this awakening as a rebirth. The initiate, through deep contemplation and discipline, begins to feel the vibrational reality behind appearances. In the stillness of meditation, he perceives that everything is movement, that even what seems solid is merely energy dancing in divine rhythm. The illusion loses its grip, and truth begins to shine through the cracks of perception. He wrote that the awakened one sees the light within all shadows and the silence within all sound. In this higher state of awareness, fear dissolves. The illusion thrives on fear because fear anchors consciousness to the lower planes. Every anxiety, every resentment, every attachment strengthens the vibrational cords that bind the soul to density. This is why Thoth emphasized the cultivation of harmony, not as a moral rule, but as a vibrational science. He said that when the soul vibrates in resonance with love, wisdom, and truth, it naturally rises above the illusion. The false reality cannot hold that which has remembered its divinity. But there is something even deeper in Thoth's message. something that challenges the very foundation of our perception. He claimed that this false reality was not only a natural phenomenon, but also maintained by intelligences who understand its structure. He spoke of lords of the shadow, entities not evil in essence, but part of the cosmic balance whose role is to maintain the veil so that souls may learn through experience. They are the keepers of density, ensuring that evolution occurs through contrast. Only those who awaken can pass beyond their influence. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth recounts how he descended into the underworld, not a place of punishment, but a realm of vibration lower than the physical, and confronted these keepers. They told him that man must earn his freedom by light, not by rebellion, and so he returned to the world with the keys of ascension, hidden within sacred symbols, numbers, and laws. These laws, known later as the Hermetic principles, govern both the illusion and the path beyond it. One of these principles is mentalism, the idea that the all is mind. Everything that exists is thought within the mind of the divine. Understanding this is the beginning of freedom, because if reality is mental, then mastery of the mind is mastery of existence. Thoth taught that every human, by controlling thought and emotion, could reshape the illusion. As above, so below, as within, so without. These words, echoing through centuries, reveal the secret of creation itself. Change your vibration, and you change your world. Ask yourself, how much of what you see is shaped by what you believe? How many truths are merely reflections of collective fear? If reality bends to perception, then the only true prison is ignorance. And Thoth's mission, through ages and civilizations, was to awaken humanity from that ignorance. He said that knowledge is the sword that cuts through illusion, but wisdom is the light that reveals what lies beyond it. As we continue, we will explore how Thoth described the precise process of awakening, the alchemical transformation of consciousness that turns illusion into illumination. In the next part, we will uncover the ancient methods he taught to dissolve the false reality, the hidden disciplines of energy, thought, and vibration that allow the seeker to transcend the matrix of form and step into the radiant realm of truth. Thoth taught that liberation from illusion begins not with struggle, but with remembrance. He said that man's true prison is forgetfulness, the amnesia of his divine origin. Within each person burns a spark of the infinite, yet it lies dormant beneath layers of false identity, fear, and distraction. The soul remembers, but the mind forgets, and the journey of awakening is nothing more than the art of remembering who we have always been. In the temples of ancient Atlantis, Thoth revealed what he called the path of return, a process by which the initiate gradually dissolves the veils of illusion that cloud the perception of truth. This path was not symbolic, it was energetic. He taught that every thought emits a vibration, and that vibration either anchors the soul deeper into density or lifts it closer to light. The initiate learned to tune his consciousness like a musical instrument, aligning his vibration with the harmony of the cosmos. Through sacred sound, breath, and focused intention, the seeker began to reprogram the frequencies of his being. Thoth described this as tuning the soul to the music of the spheres. Every tone, every syllable carried meaning. Words were not mere language, they were creative forces. When spoken in alignment with truth, they reshaped reality. This is why Thoth was also known as the Lord of Words, for he understood that speech, both silent and spoken, was the architect of the worlds. He warned that careless thought and emotion distort the harmony of the inner being, causing dissonance that manifests as chaos in the outer world. Look around today. Wars, division, confusion, all reflections of the disharmony within collective consciousness. Thoth would tell us that the world is not broken, the mind that perceives it is. To change the world, one must first master the self. This was the first key of transformation, as within, so without. The second key was understanding the alchemy of light. Thoth revealed that light is not just a physical phenomenon, but a spiritual substance, the original essence of creation. The false reality, he said, is merely light distorted by perception. When consciousness is pure, the distortion fades, and one begins to perceive the underlying truth. The alchemist's task was to purify his inner light through knowledge, meditation, and alignment with universal law, until he could see reality as it truly is, not as the senses report it, but as the soul knows it. Thoth taught that emotion is the energy that powers creation, and thought is the blueprint that shapes it. Together they form the architecture of experience. By mastering emotion, the seeker reclaims control of the creative force that sustains the illusion. Most people, he said, are ruled by their emotions, reacting unconsciously to the outer world. But the awakened one radiates emotion deliberately, directing energy toward harmony and illumination. In this state, life ceases to be random. It becomes a work of conscious artistry. He also spoke of the 7 stages of awakening, symbolized by the steps of the Great Pyramid of Light. Each step represents a vibrational shift, a shedding of illusion. The first step is awareness of the self as consciousness. The second is mastery of thought. The third, mastery of emotion. The fourth, alignment with divine law. The fifth, awakening of the heart center, where love transforms duality into unity. The sixth, activation of the light body, the true vehicle of the soul. And the seventh, merging with the infinite, the realization that there was never separation at all. This, Thoth said, is the journey every soul undertakes, lifetime after lifetime. The false reality serves as the crucible of transformation, testing, refining, and ultimately revealing the eternal essence hidden beneath the mask of form. Each challenge, each sorrow, each moment of doubt is a step on the invisible ladder leading back to the stars. He who masters illusion, Thoth wrote, becomes the maker of worlds. For when the soul remembers that it is light, it no longer fears the shadow. Modern science, in its quest to understand consciousness, has begun to echo these truths. Neuroscientists speak of the brain as a filter, not a generator, of consciousness, reducing infinite awareness into the narrow bandwidth we call reality. This idea, once dismissed as mysticism, now finds resonance in physics and philosophy. It suggests that our senses reveal not the world as it is, but as we are tuned to perceive it. In this sense, Thoth's teachings were not religious. They were scientific, though the science of spirit, not matter. He told his disciples that awakening is not an escape from reality, but an expansion of it. The awakened being does not withdraw from the world. He perceives it as a reflection of his own inner light. Life becomes a mirror through which the infinite contemplates itself. This realization dissolves fear, for fear can only exist when there is separation. Once you see that all things are expressions of the same consciousness, even darkness becomes an aspect of light, serving its higher purpose in the great symphony of existence. Thoth's wisdom reminds us that awakening is not achieved through belief, but through direct experience. To know truth, one must live it, embody it, breathe it into being. Knowledge becomes power only when it transforms perception. He said, "Seek not in temples or books, but within your own light. For there lies the gateway to the real." Meditation, contemplation, and silence were not passive acts, but doorways into expanded awareness. The true temple, he said, is the human mind purified of illusion. Now, imagine this for a moment. If the world around you is but a projection of consciousness, what happens when you shift your own vibration? What happens when love replaces fear, when awareness replaces reaction, when unity replaces separation? The illusion begins to dissolve. You start to perceive the divine geometry behind every event, the harmony behind every chaos. The veil thins, and you glimpse what Thoth called the eternal flame, the unchanging truth that burns behind all forms. Thoth promised that those who walk this path with sincerity will one day awaken fully, even while still in the body. They will see the world as it truly is, not a trap, but a classroom, not a prison, but a mirror. For the false reality is only false when we forget who we are. When we remember, it becomes sacred. He said, "Man's chains are forged by his own ignorance, yet with knowledge they melt like wax before the sun." In the next part, we will explore the final and most profound revelation of Thoth, the ultimate key that frees the soul from illusion entirely. It is the mystery of the divine light, the eternal consciousness that exists beyond birth and death, beyond dream and waking, the truth that not only liberates, but transforms everything it touches. Thoth said that the greatest illusion humanity has ever believed is the illusion of separation, the idea that the self is isolated from the universe, from the divine, from the eternal source of life. He called this the root of all suffering, the seed from which fear and ignorance grow. Every illusion stems from it, the illusion of time, of birth and death, of good and evil. And yet he also said that the moment this illusion dissolves, the false reality collapses like mist before the morning sun. He revealed that the true reality is pure consciousness, infinite, unchanging, and eternal. The soul does not travel through space or time, it unfolds within awareness. What we perceive as linear experience is but a projection of the mind's limited perspective. Time, Thoth explained, is a construct of the illusion, a mechanism for learning within the dimension of form. In truth, everything exists simultaneously. The past and future are threads of the same eternal moment, woven by perception into the tapestry of experience. He taught that when a soul awakens to this realization, it transcends death itself. For death, like birth, is only a transition of awareness, a change of frequency, not an end. Man is immortal, he wrote, but the shadow he casts may fade. The physical body, the emotional body, even the mental patterns that shape identity, all are garments worn by consciousness. When one recognizes the wearer behind the garments, fear of death vanishes. For what is there to fear when one knows they cannot cease to be? Thoth described this ultimate liberation as the union of the self with the light of lights, the infinite source from which all creation flows. He said that within every human heart burns a fragment of this divine light, and through awakening that spark reunites with its cosmic origin. This is not metaphorical, but a literal fusion of vibration, the merging of the finite with the infinite. When this occurs, perception shifts permanently. The world remains the same, yet nothing appears as it once did. The illusion is still visible, but it no longer deceives. In that state of illumination, the initiate becomes what Thoth called a son of the light. Such beings no longer live under the law of illusion, but act as instruments of divine will within it. They walk the earth, but are not bound by it. Their thoughts carry the resonance of creation itself. Their words shape reality in harmony with cosmic law. They are not masters of others, but masters of themselves. They have remembered what all of humanity has forgotten, that we are not beings searching for light. We are light, exploring being. Thoth's final revelation is that the false reality, as oppressive as it may seem, exists for a sacred purpose. It is the mirror through which the infinite comes to know itself. The illusion of separation allows the one to experience the joy of reunion, the stillness of eternity to know movement, the boundless to explore form. Without illusion there could be no awakening. Without darkness there could be no recognition of light. This is the divine paradox, that what traps us is also what sets us free. He said that when humanity understands this, when enough souls awaken and remember their true nature, the veil will lift collectively. The earth itself will ascend in vibration, shedding its dense cloak of illusion and revealing its eternal form as a radiant realm of consciousness. This prophecy, found in many ancient texts, is not about destruction but transformation, a new dawn where the false dissolves into truth and the dream becomes lucid. Thoth called this the Great Awakening, when mankind will once again walk with the gods, as in the age of Atlantis. Science, mysticism, and spirituality now converge toward this understanding. Quantum fields, holographic models of the universe, and the study of consciousness all point to a truth Thoth declared millennia ago. Reality is not objective but participatory. The observer is the creator. Each thought, each emotion, each act of awareness shapes the field of existence. The false reality is only false because it hides this creative power. Once humanity remembers, the illusion loses its hold. Think about this. What if the universe itself is dreaming through you? What if you are not a drop in the ocean, but the ocean in a drop, experiencing itself from a single point of awareness? Thoth said that this is the final secret, that there is no outside, no division, no other. All is one and one is all. The mind may resist this truth because it cannot comprehend infinity, but the heart knows. The heart feels the unity that the mind forgets. He urged seekers to turn inward, for the gateway to the infinite lies within. In the stillness of meditation, when thought subsides and awareness expands, the illusion begins to fade. There, in the silence beyond words, the seeker feels the pulse of eternity. This is the doorway that leads beyond the false reality, not upward or outward, but inward, into the boundless dimension of consciousness itself. Enter the light within you, Thoth said, and you shall find the stars. And so the message that echoes through time is both a warning and a promise. The warning: humanity remains trapped in illusion as long as it identifies with what is transient. The promise: liberation awaits those who remember their eternal nature. The illusion of reality is not a curse but a riddle, one that each soul must solve through awakening. The moment we remember, the prison dissolves, and we see that the gate was never locked. As you reflect on Thoth's words, ask yourself, what if this entire world is your mirror? What if the boundaries you perceive are simply reflections of belief? If you can change your inner world, can you not also change the outer one? The secret Thoth left for those who would listen is this: reality bends to consciousness, and consciousness, when awakened, is free. So the question is no longer whether humanity is trapped in a false reality, but whether we are ready to awaken from it. For the illusion has served its purpose, and the time of remembering has come. The light that once guided Thoth through the halls of Atlantis now shines within every heart that seeks truth. You are not a prisoner of illusion. You are the dreamer, and it is time to awaken. Thanks for looking.